Why do we sit here being silent, watching our leaders turn into tyrants? Have they forgotten which side they're fighting for? Checks and balances set aside and rule of laws, youths and ours, and Constitution openly ignored. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Is it time for right and left to join a greater cause? Man, I'm not okay. The rich claim to be victimized just to attack the marginalized. This 1% really worth more than all the sick and poor. Always preaching about fellowship while planning their dictatorship. Now we've seen how all of this plays out before. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call. Man, I'm not okay. Ever wonder all the mystery? Why they whitewash our history? Keep dividing is their plan. All in all, such a scam. Algorithm very sly, only used to spread the lies. Politicians know well, hate is simple to upsell. Man, I'm not okay. Think we are being played. Time for you and I to join our country's call.
We are not okay. America is not okay, and we all know that. Former Congressman Joe Walsh, this is The Social Contract with Joe Walsh. Let's figure out how to get okay together.
Okay, we're live. It's an honor to introduce my guest today. It is former congressman and frequent Trump critic. I don't think that fully describes how much you don't dislike this current president, but frequent Trump critic Joe Walsh. So welcome to the show, and would you mind kind of sharing kind of your background, like people know who you are, but like how you got to this point of frequent Trump critic as someone who started off in the rise of the Tea Party and now is a member of the Democratic Party in a matter of 15 years. That's a big turnaround.
No, big. Hey, Eli, first off, great to be with you. Thanks for inviting me. And I'm encouraging everybody, especially any of my subscribers and followers who come in and join this conversation, give us a bunch of red hearts and make sure you all follow and subscribe to Eli's Substack as well.
Thank you.
Look, man, I've had a political journey these last 14 years that I don't know of anyone else who's had the same journey. I went from Mr. Tea Party to Mr. MAGA. I voted for Trump in 2016. Then I very publicly went against him in 2018. And when I did, I threw away everything. And then I actually ran for president against him in 2019, 2020. Didn't last very long. And then I've become one of the most outspoken never-Trumpers around. I left the Republican Party 6 years ago, was an independent for 6 years, joined the Democratic Party a year ago, temporarily, and I'm still out there just fighting the fight. It's been a crazy, crazy journey.
So let's get into it. I think that so as someone,
and by the way, Eli, nothing is off limits. You can ask me anything. We can talk about anything.
It's great to know. So obviously, as someone who was part of the Tea Party, what exactly was like the actual reason why the Tea Party kind of, I guess, was unearthed? Like, why was, first of all, why did that, like, what was the inspiring issue? Because I've heard things say it was about Obamacare. Some said it was because of racism. Some say it was a combination of a bunch of different things. As someone who actually ran during the Tea Party, what was at least your reasoning behind the Tea Party and the antics that have ensued?
It's Eli, it's a great question. And I need to write the book on the Tea Party because so many people got so many different ideas of what it was. A week ago, we soared past $40 trillion in debt in this country.
Oh God, yeah.
That right there, Eli, that was the most animating force in the Tea Party 12, 14 years ago. I decided to run for Congress as a Tea Party guy because then I was so fucking pissed off at the debt then, and it was 11 trillion. When I was sworn in as a member of Congress in January 2013, the debt was only 13 trillion. Now it's 40. So generally, the Tea Party generally was about, oh my God, government's too big, we're bankrupting future generations. That was it for most of us. Then we went to Washington, Eli, and we didn't do shit about the debt. And so then Trump comes along a couple of years later, and what he did was he tapped into some of the uglier aspects of the Tea Party. The whole nationalism thing, the whole let's keep brown and black people out of America thing. So because we didn't deliver on the debt, Trump was able to change the Tea Party into what became MAGA. And that's pretty much when I left. But it was these other parts of the Tea Party. But Eli, I get pissed off when people say the Tea Party was a racist, anti-Obama thing. Bullshit. The Tea Party began before Obama. It began when George W. Bush was president, pissed off about all the debt and all the bailouts. But I can't lie, Eli. There were some uglier pieces of the Tea Party, and some of it was bigoted.
That's good. I think that very quickly, I think because obviously I was very young when the Tea Party was. I was 5 years old when the 2010 midterms happened. So I've heard things from my grandparents and my family and people that I've studied it, but like I feel like talking to someone who was part of it is certainly a lot more actual than like people just kind of recreating things with hindsight, knowing what's happened with the Tea Party evolution, with turning into MAGA, now turning into what it is today. Um, I ask because I think a lot of people, either as a positive or as a negative, compare the rise of the DSA on the Democratic side to the Tea Party of the Democratic Party. I've heard people in the DSA say this is our Tea Party as like that's a good thing in the sense that,
Yeah.
and I think that I would say I would also compare to the Tea Party, but I'm not saying in the same positive lens because I worry about. Okay, it starts off with the Tea Party, and there might be some good reasons, just like the Tea Party originally had some good ideas about debt, and then it morphs into this like really perverted thing that we've now seen with MAGA, and who know. And the problem is, so what do you think about that as someone who?
So yeah, Eli, that's really great stuff, and you're onto something. Look, I understand why so many people have so many different notions of what the Tea Party was. I get it. That's why I've got to write the book. The Tea Party fundamentally, Eli, was a populist anti-establishment movement. We were pissed off at the Republican Party establishment. And we went to Washington to shake up that establishment and get them to do something about the debt. They didn't. I've called the DSA and the energy on the far left in the Democratic Party. This is their Tea Party moment. It's a populist movement. It's anti-establishment. The Democratic Party establishment sucks. So it's a good thing that Democrats are having their Tea Party moment. On issues and substance, the two movements are very different. But it's a good thing Democrats are having their Tea Party moment. Now, cautionary tale, the Tea Party became MAGA. and it took over the Republican Party, that's a bad, horrible thing because MAGA, in my mind, I come from MAGA, is an un-American movement. So the worry is you don't want the DSA to take over the Democratic Party. You want the DSA to shake up the Democratic Party establishment.
My main issues with DSA, because I think that like there's obviously some components of their platform that I think are good, and they make some decent points on some things. But I think like for a better example, it's like I like for example Chris Murphy of Connecticut. I think he is someone who wants to shake up the establishment, but is definitely progressive. But he's not anti a lot of the form of government. Like he's like, I want to make reforms. I don't want to change the system entirely, which is more the DSA national platform. I'm not saying every candidate runs under it is necessarily of that thought, but that is the platform. Chris Murphy is in the Senate. He does not want to abolish the Senate. I find it odd that they keep running candidates for Senate for a body that they want to eventually get rid of. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. But then they obviously have positions like abolishing the police, abolishing prisons, abolishing borders, like all these like really out there things that I think that even most progressives won't even agree with. So I think
and Eli, understand, again, you're going in an interesting area. Most of us Tea Party guys back in the day, we wanted to help the Republican Party get better.
yes,
I certainly did. But there were some people in the Tea Party movement who didn't give a damn about the Republican Party. They wanted to take over the Republican Party. Now, there are people in DSA who don't give a damn about the Democratic Party. They want to take over the Democratic Party. Let's hope that most of these far-left candidates only want the Democratic Party to get better. But that's the worry. That's the worry.
issue I have is that like the thing is I can only go based on what the people that are in charge of this, I wouldn't even call it party, but like just like group things, is like if you listen to Megan Romer and the other co-chair Ashik Sadiq, they both then like my view is if they want the DSA to do well, they should cancel all future interviews. My view is they should keep talking because I think that could help more. I think the term establishment, I do think that's a not fully accurate term, and we can get into that a little later. But I think that like these people, they have outwardly said, like Ashik Sadiq literally said, we're using the Democratic Party ballot line to get into office, and then we can take the party. Like that was wording he used. Like that, I try to be very careful when I talk about the DSA. I use quotes from their candidates and their folks. You don't have to make stuff up to make them sound crazy. And I think the problem is the leadership, and then the platform. I don't think that it's hard to know how many of these candidates are genuine and like actually want to make the party better, or they're saying they do, or I don't know. We'll have to know if they get elected. I think that we've seen a lot of rhetoric that is very isolationist also come from a lot of some of these DSA folks. Like I think obviously regarding Middle East issues, it's very isolationist. Even including some rhetoric about how the war in Ukraine was NATO instigated things. Like that's a part of the party platform, criticizing and attacking NATO, which is also.
And by the
Trump
way, Eli,
does.
you find that shit on the far right too. You find that shit
Yes.
with the Tucker Carlson, a lot of MAGA voices. Look.
The-
Yeah, they've met.
Yeah.
Look, most Americans are not MAGA, and most Americans are not socialist. So my former party is now full on MAGA. It's a MAGA party. The Democratic Party ain't a socialist party yet. And let's hope that doesn't happen because most Americans aren't there. The only way MAGA keeps winning is if the Democratic Party goes far left. The other issue, and it's a big issue, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. I don't care. I'll talk about anything. I am off the charts pro-Israel. I am off the charts pro-Israel. I'd join IDF tomorrow if I could. I've always been pro-Israel. DSA, a lot of these far left folk are very anti-Israel. And that sentiment, I fear, is now mainline Democratic thinking. And again, I think that's a really bad, dangerous thing, bad place for the Democratic Party to be.
Yeah, I think that the problem I see, like, I definitely have criticisms of the current Israeli government, and certainly have criticisms of various policies and how they've executed this war and various other aspects of the region. But I also fear that a lot of the critiques, they go very quickly into at very bad dog whistles, and in some cases just outward anti-Semitism when
Yeah.
they do cross the line often. Again, you can criticize Israel on a lot of things without being anti-Semitic. The problem is you have figures like Hassan Piker that say really horrendous things on multiple issues, not just on Jews, but on like a bunch of different issues that are just totally not even, I wouldn't say totally out of the mainstream, it's not even accurate. It's just like far, like it's so far left, it's far right. And so it's kind of weird. And the thing is, it's kind of odd that we've seen so many DSA candidates, like of course Abdul in Michigan, of course, all the DSA candidates have campaigned besides Angie Nixon in Florida, have won with Hassan Piker campaigning with them.
Hey,
Off.
Eli, a DSA Democratic candidate won last night in Oklahoma. A candidate for the
Yeah.
United States Senate, a DSA Democrat, won in Oklahoma. So forget about that state. But you know what? When I was in the Tea Party, we nominated a lot of people who were kooks, who turned winnable races into unwinnable races.
Well,
The
yeah.
the Democrats will go through that thing too.
The problem is that at the time when the GOP was doing that, there was still a sensible party on the opposite side that could pick up the pieces. The problem is if the Democratic Party goes down this route, even temporarily, while they're figuring out what's going on with them, while they figure out their identity crisis, the GOP is full on MAGA. That's not changing, at least for quite some time until. And
No.
so the problem is, if Democrats can't figure out how to be sane and put up candidates that can win, then the people, frankly, this is a country that will more likely vote for fascism before they vote for socialism.
Well,
Whether
let's be clear, Eli, because look, I spend a lot of time criticizing the Democratic Party. I'm a new Democrat. I don't know how long I'll be a Democrat, but I want the Democratic Party to get their fucking act together because let's be real. The greater threat right now is the Republican Party. Donald Trump is a fascist. My former party is a fascist embracing cult. I'm sorry, that's a clear and present danger, much more than a few wacky, kooky DSA candidates getting nominated right now.
my concern is, and whenever I criticize GSA on my Substack, I get a lot of comments or I get a lot of responses that are criticizing me. I'm like, why aren't you going after MAGA more? I said, well, the thing is, my view is my goal is to beat MAGA because they are the ultimate threat. And
Amen.
anything that gets in the way of doing that, I will criticize. And I believe that if we nominate more people like the DSA in swing races, that's going to help MAGA win more seats, and it's going to be harder to fight Trump and fight MAGA once Trump is gone. And I
Amen.
think that's my prerogative, is fighting DSA in an attempt to fight Trump and fight MAGA. That's how I think about it. There's other people that, like, for example, I'm not a huge fan of Abdul. I'm not. I'm not going to pretend like I am, but I also would never endorse Mike Rogers because I don't think he has plenty of issues on his own. But I also think I understand the concerns that I've heard regarding Abdul's campaign during the primary and the type of campaign he ran during the primary against Haley Stevens. I think that was a very brutal primary, and I think that a lot of rhetoric is used describing AIPAC as monsters. Now, I'm no fan of AIPAC. I think it has become a group that mainly backs Republicans and primarily just backs a pro-Israel Netanyahu position than necessarily just a pro-Israel. And so I do think that Democrats should distance themselves somewhat from AIPAC, but I do think the focus on AIPAC has become a little bit problematic.
Look, the point is the important point you're making, and this is what I do. on every platform I'm on, I criticize the Democratic Party because we want them to win. We want them to defeat what this Republican Party is. And I'm sorry if that DSA candidate had won the nomination to be the governor of Wisconsin, Democrats would have
Oh my
lost the
god.
state of Wisconsin. They still may. It'll be a close race, but that race would have been taken off the table. In Michigan, because of who Abdul El Said is, in a year like this, that should be automatic. But he has made that race now very close. That's just a fact. And again, it, it it's up to Abdul El Said, who won the nomination, to reach out to everybody and to bring them in. He's got to do a good job of that if he wants to win.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think that I breathed a sigh of relief, even though I was very surprised by the Wisconsin race. I thought that Hong was gonna win that by a considerable margin based on, um, given the fact that the anti-Hong, vote was so split and so chaotic. Like, the guy that won really dropped out, like, 3 weeks before he won.
The
Like,
current governor of Wisconsin won that race. He
yes.
grabbed what's his name by the back of the neck. He made him win. Yes.
Yeah, and the thing is, I will forever be grateful for him for that because the thing is, not only did he save that one governor's race, he saved, frankly, the state legislature. A lot of state legislature races, could have been lost and now have a better
Well,
chance of winning.
completely, Eli, because look, I used to do this when I was on the right. We take one crazy Democratic candidate and we tag the whole Democratic Party with it. Republicans are great at doing that. I used to be great at doing that. If Hong had won the nomination, every Democrat would be
And
Hong.
exactly, and the thing is, then you would have had a situation where she had been governor for 4 years, almost even if she somehow won in this type of Democratic, the thing is, there was a chance that she could win in a Democratic year like this, possibly. Unlikely, but possibly. She definitely loses re-election in 2030, but by that point, Republicans would have been in charge. Like, Republicans could have been in charge if she lost of redistricting and undone all the progress that Ben Wickler and people of Wisconsin Democrats had made to improve the Supreme Court, improve all these different things to make it more fair maps in Wisconsin, and it would all be undone by one bad election with one kooky candidate who wanted to get rid of all these holidays and wanted to be
Yeah.
all these not nutsy
Yeah,
things.
and again, everybody listening to us right now, understand what Eli and I are saying. The greater threat is the fascist in the White House.
Yeah,
So we got to defeat him. That's the goal, and his party, my former party. That's why we spend so much time trying to help Democrats get their act together. And by the way, Eli, after the midterms, because for the midterms, I tell every Democrat who asks me, just focus on Trump. Every cruel, shitty, dishonest, un-American, anti-democratic thing Trump is doing. Trump, Trump, Trump. That's what the midterms should be. I don't give a damn who you are or what you believe. Focus on Trump. But after the midterms, Democrats need to have a big, messy, public fight about who they are as a party, what they believe in, and what they're
and
going to
that's what a
do.
presidential race is supposed to be, and that's what the primary is likely to be. I think you're gonna see, like, everyone in their sibling run for that office for the presidential primary. I think you're probably gonna see at least 30 candidates, announce a run. About 10 of them will have a shot, um, at best. But I think that you're gonna see a very public battle about what direction we want the party to go in, like, what type of what our values are, all those different things that you just said. But I think that, like, Republicans have always been played, and you know this as someone who used to be one, um, always used to play the Democrats, the socialist, and communist card, and the thing, and it never really landed. Well, it did land some in some places, but like it never landed with a lot of people because it wasn't there was no reason to believe it. 'Cause there was no prominent socialist or communist ideology in the Democratic Party, more among our
Well,
candidates
no,
mostly.
you're right, but it would land. It will land more
Yeah,
now. It
the
will
thing is,
land more
well, given
now.
that now we have people like Darilaza Elvira Chevalier in New York City. Now, granted, she's in a deep blue pocket of New York City in a deep college area. So it frankly doesn't, not surprising that a candidate like that won in a deeply blue area. But they're still going to use that to attack first of all, a bunch of New York congressional candidates that we need to win. But also just candidates across the country, because now they actually have people that are praising Mao, praising China, praising all these different things. It's like really weird stuff. And it's like we're handing them a platter of like easy talking points that they can, because that's the only thing they have against us in this election, because how Trump's handled every other issue.
And it'll work to a degree, and it's all they can do, Republicans,
All they do.
communists, socialists, transgenders, all the greatest hits, because they can't talk about the economy. They can't talk about gas prices. They can't talk about this war. They can't talk about the issues that really impact people. So they'll do, right? And they're great at this. And I used to do this. But there's a reason, Eli, why it works. There's a reason why tagging the Democratic Party with they're the defund the police party, like Republicans did back in the day. The transgender party everywhere, because Democrats don't fight back on these issues. The main reason I became a Democrat a year ago, temporarily, is because I wanted to help teach Democrats how to fight on this stuff.
I think that it's a very interesting thing, because I think that, like, for example, Hakeem Jeffries put out a statement, I think 2 days ago now, where after Hassan Piker apparently said something to the effect about like Jews, American Jews are bringing the hate and the violence on themselves by supporting Israel, something to that effect.
Yeah.
Hakeem Jeffries put out a statement, didn't even mention Hassan Piker's name, just said something like, addresses. Why the heck would you not just say his name? Like, this is a very, if you're gonna condemn him and condemn the statement, say his name. Like, the thing is, they've just, it's lost backbone, and this is not just a anti-DSA. They've lost the backbone in terms of Trump too. Like, I think that, yes, while I think that it's politics as usual to meet with someone of the presidential team liaison.
No!
That's normal in previous times, but we're not living in normal times. You do not meet with Jared Kushner during this current time. No, it's simple. It's
we say often, I say a lot these past 19 months, that Democrats are not meeting this moment.
they aren't.
And the potential Speaker of the House meeting with Jared Kushner just confirms that Hakeem Jeffries, like Chuck Schumer, I think they're incapable of meeting this moment. If I were a Democrat and I were going back to the House of Representatives as a Democrat, solely because Jeffries met with Kushner, there's no fucking way I'd vote to make Jeffries my speaker. He'll probably still become speaker if Democrats take over. But I'm telling you something, we need a wartime speaker. We need Democrats to be an opposition party.
Well,
and Jeffries is too much the establishment figure.
Well, moving away from the DSA, because moving from the other side is that I personally, as a Democrat, I don't feel like I have a clear home in the Democratic Party, 'cause I can't stand the DSA. I also can't stand DC insider establishment folks that also on me. I don't think either side is meeting the moment where we need to. And I'm more of a Chris Murphy type of Democrat. That's kind of where I stand on the progressive. I'm more of a progressive on policy, but like I think that we need to go with some pragmatic in terms of how we do certain things. I do want to actually win races. So like, that's my that's not that I do think that there is an allergy to winning among some in the far left. And I think that needs to be dealt with. But I think that also I personally don't like the term establishment, because I think the establishment covers a lot of things. Bernie Sanders, technically, he is an establishment. He's been there for years. AOC, she's been there for several years, and is not. My view is if you have on leadership position or on a top committee spot like AOC is, she's establishment technically. Not would I consider her the same way as I would Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer. No, I think that they certainly. I think the better term is like just DC insider, or just like, I don't know. I feel like we don't necessarily need a label for it, but I think that certainly the people that are currently in office in our leadership have not met the moment, have not come close to meeting the moment. I don't
They
know if I
yeah, Eli, they don't understand, and I think establishment works. Having been in Washington, there really I mean, there really is a uniparty. Like, there is a Democratic DC insider group and a Republican Party insider group, and generally, they're on the same team. That existed when I was there. I was not a part of it. It exists now. The only difference is Trump is the insider. We want people who will be willing to fight against the leadership of both parties. At least I do. When I went to Congress, I yelled at Republicans way more than I yelled at Democrats. I like that. I want Democrats to do that, to try to get their party together in shape.
my main thing is I wanna make sure that, like, yes, I think that we do need to get the party in shape, and I don't think that it's currently at that point. But I also think we do to make sure that we don't become what we've seen with how disorderly the Freedom Caucus has caused the, Johnson speakership. We don't want that to happen to, Democrats, 'cause I think that obviously that was seen as a very ineffective Congress the last several times that between McCarthy and Johnson. And I don't want that embarrassment to, um, happen to Democrats, especially since we mock that so vociferously when it happens for good reason, because they can't pass a freaking rule to save their life. But to do that, we have to make sure that yes, and also things if we're gonna be fighting Speaker Jeffries, the people that are fighting Speaker Jeffries have to be, frankly, more normal folks. The thing is, it can't simply be the DSA people that are fighting because then those will be seen as like then they'll be like, oh, it's the because if I have to choose between King Jeffries and the so-called establishment and the DSA, I will probably choose the establishment, but I'd rather choose somewhere in the middle. Like, more, again, Chris Murphy has been very clear about this. I think that Jay Raskin has been very clear about this. I think that there's folks that are normal progressives, normal anti-establishment figures that just aren't decent and they're not establishment. They're just somewhere in the middle. And I think those are the people that should be going after Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and various other folks in the leadership role.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with you. I just think in general, my biggest criticism of Democrats has always been, and when I was a Republican in private, we would laugh at Democrats because we knew they wouldn't fight. We knew that we could go to the mat to win and Democrats wouldn't. Democrats generally are afraid. I'm not talking about voters. I'm talking about elected officials. They're generally afraid. They generally listen to too many consultants, too many pollsters. They're afraid to say what the hell they think. And I just don't want Democrats to be afraid of having a big old fight with each other after the
It is
midterms. I
the
think it's a
thing
good thing.
is that I'm very happy. The thing is, like, I started this Substack about 10 and a half months ago, started back in October. Um, and obviously within the last 10 and a half months, it's grown to the point where I'm able to interview folks like you. I interviewed, one of the DNC vice chairs, Jane Fleming Klebb, about a week ago. And like done interviews like this. And like the fact that they're willing to do those types of interviews with, frankly, new media that's like small compared to the other ones they could do with, like they could be doing Midas Touch, they could be doing much bigger ones. But they're choosing to go these places, but like I've also heard, I'm not gonna name names because I don't want to hurt any Democratic Senate candidates or candidates across the country or members of Congress, but there are people that I've asked for interviews where I don't hear from them, but I hear from other people that I asked to like reach out, where they say, oh, their consultants really are focusing on TV media for the interviews and focusing
Yeah.
a little bit less on and I'm like, okay, like maybe, and that could change when we get closer to the election. I'm like, okay, it's September. It's almost September. Like, what are we doing? Like,
No,
can we?
Eli, yeah, no, look, to your point, I campaigned my ass off for Kamala Harris. I got to know her. I got to like her. It's not her fault that she lost. It's Joe Biden's fault, primarily that she lost. But Kamala Harris and her campaign made a mistake. They were afraid to go to these alternative media spots. if I say often, and I'm probably exaggerating, but I'm exaggerating to make a point. If Kamala Harris, during that 3-month campaign, had gone on the Joe Rogan show, had gone on and gone toe to toe with Joe fucking Rogan for 2 hours, Kamala Harris would have won. I'm exaggerating, but you get my point.
That type
Her
of
people were so afraid of having her go into anywhere that's uncomfortable.
I think that the problem is that she didn't go in any places that were uncomfortable. The places that she went that were comfortable, like The View, she fumbled. And with the infamous comment about how I wouldn't do a thing different. Now, the thing is, if that's the type of fumble you're going to make on frankly, a interview that's friendly to you, which The View, I would say, is pretty friendly to Democrat candidates, more or less. How would you like? How are you going to do against a more combative opponent, which would have been Joe Rogan, which would have been my understanding is I've heard mixed things. I've heard some people say that they actually did have a planned interview with Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan insisted that she'd come to Texas on a specific time.
Well, I don't care. I don't care like whose fault it was that she didn't go on. I don't give a damn about any of that shit. All I'm saying is she should have gone on. If she had gone on and shown that she can fight, I don't care if she stumbles. I don't care if she makes gaffes. You're telling me Joe Rogan's an idiot. He's an idiot. He's a liar and a bullshitter. Kamala Harris is too constricted. If she'd have gone on there and just fought, I'd have had, if I were running Kamala's campaign, I'd have had her sit down with Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and just, Kamala's smart and tough, and just said, I would have told her, don't be fucking afraid of what you say. Just say what you believe and go. That's what the American people wanted to see out of her.
I think that, obviously, if you look at the Texas Senate race, one of the major things that I would say launched Talarico's launch into the Senate campaign was his interview with Joe Rogan, where he actually kind of won over. Who knows if Joe Rogan will actually endorse, but he certainly won Joe Rogan over. They had a really good conversation. He even said that he should run for president one day. It was a really good conversation, and I think that James Talarico is an incredibly smart politician, but I think the thing is the willingness to go on. I don't know if Joe Rogan would have supported Kamala Harris. I don't think he would have, but I think that it's enough of his audience might, and people. I don't think that Joe Rogan himself would have won it, but I think that she was not willing to take risks, which I think was and that was just an example of.
That's the point. That's the point you and I are making. Democratic politicians in general have been afraid to take risks. That needs to change.
And I think that as we talk about 2028 and we talk about the future of the Democratic Party, are there any candidates right now that you're seeing in the conversation, or frankly, people that aren't in the conversation but you think should be, that would be good candidates that are of this willingness to take a risk and are normal Democrats but willing to fight the establishment, that type of Democrat? Who's your ideal candidate?
I got no name. I have no name. I don't know who that person is yet. That person hasn't shown himself or herself to you or me. It's got to be someone who's a fighter. It's got to be someone who's real and normal and talks like a real fucking human being. It's got to be someone that understands this moment. And it's got to be someone that can get center-right people, center-left people, progressives, and far-left people in the main to get behind him or her. And we don't have that candidate yet. Or rather, that candidate, Eli, hasn't shown, and it's early, hasn't shown himself or herself yet. I don't have a name.
I think that I've been very careful for a lot of different reasons. One, because I want to see how people actually run. I want to see the policies, all this different stuff. And I want to reserve my options for getting a job on my campaign, but come this election cycle. But I will say I've really liked what we've seen with John Ossoff. He's been really going on the offense in a lot of these things. He obviously got a lot of flack, unfortunately, from even some Democrats for his comments about Natalie Harp. I'm personally of the view I don't care. The thing is, if he needs to make a point and he uses Natalie Harp to make the point, I really don't we need to stop being so afraid of hurting people's feelings. Also, I think that's on both sides, and that's including hurting the far left feelings and the far right's feelings. I think that we need to be focused on we need to be willing to not. We're not always going to make everyone happy, and I think that's the problem with the Democratic Party is that we have such a big tent that we are trying to like make all the factions
No,
happy.
well, that's part of it, but Democrats also generally let consultants and pollsters run their lives. It's always been this way. Look, maybe I'm a horrible politician, but I've always been this way. You ask me a question, I'm going to say what I believe, and I don't give a damn if it offends you. That's generally not how most politicians think. That's not how most of my colleagues thought. They thought, oh my God, Eli asked me a tough question. What should I say? What are the voters going to like? I don't want to anger anybody. Too often Democrats think that way. They've got to get beyond that. That's what Americans want. Trump, by the way, Trump gives the illusion that that's what he is, which
Well,
is utter bullshit because he just lies every time he opens his mouth.
I think that like when a recent example is when we saw Hakeem Jeffries. I think it was on one of the Sunday morning shows. He was being asked about the DSA, and he started off good, but then he picked one of the more popular positions of the DSA to attack, which was Medicare for all. And it's like, so you're going to, and so what he did was he's now picking an issue that, frankly, a lot more normal people in the party actually support, and you're making that be the position that you are calling out of the DSA rather than their actual position out of step with a lot of democratic thought and democracy in some ways. You're attacking this bigger issue, this substantive issue of like Medicare for all, which I think is a people can disagree with it, but it is a substantive part of the conversation that I think could be discussed. So he decided to talk about that when he attacked DSA rather than something more controversial.
Yeah, because look, Eli, even if Democrats take back the House and the Senate's still going to be a lot tougher, but if they take back the House, Democrats can't do anything. They
No,
can't push policy or legislation. Even if they take back both houses, they can't advance an agenda. What they should do if they take back the House, every
oversight.
fuck period. I was on that committee every fucking day of the week. Pull a member of this administration in front of them under oath. That's what they should do for 2 years. Hold these people
Yeah,
accountable. That's all.
I think I saw this online. I fully agree with you. I fully agree with it. Is that the only time I want to see a member meeting with Jared Kushner is if it's behind him swearing under
Under
oath
oath.
about his corruption that he's done in the last 2 years and under the first term. The thing is,
And and just think about that, Eli. I just think about how tone deaf and so institutionalized Jeffries is that when Jared Kushner's people reached out to him, Hakeem didn't think, excuse me? What the fuck? We've got a fascist in the White House. Jared Kushner, Trump, and the whole family are using his office to make billions. Kushner's out there negotiating trade deals and peace deals, and he's grabbing personal money from these countries. Like, no, I'm not going to sit down with him. Like the fact that Jeffries, that might have even been a close call.
the thing is, I feel like if you met with like someone like Susie Wiles, I feel like the backlash would not be so great. But
Nobody, but Eli, nobody. You either believe that this guy is what he is or you don't. And either Hakeem doesn't understand it or he doesn't believe it.
well, the thing is, I think that Jeffries is under the thought, and we saw this with the housing bill, is that it's like he's under the thought that like we can get some type of legislation passed, like we did with the housing bill. Obviously, Trump didn't sign in July; it just became law because of the overwhelming support of it. And he couldn't veto it because it was going to get overturned. But he's like, well, maybe we can get more stuff like that passed, or like the criminal justice reform bill that we got during the first Trump term. Maybe we can get that type of stuff. But that's different because again, different advisors, different mindset of Trump. He's not in the mood to negotiate. He's in the mood to, frankly, tell Democrats we're going to vote for this or whatever. Like he's not looking to compromise. And I think that the fact that he offered to send someone who's not even a confirmed position. He sent his son-in-law, who for some reason is taking all these positions, even though he's not Senate confirmed or doesn't have any security clearance. They sent him. Like, it shows that Trump thinks that
You're you're very knowledgeable, but you've already gone too inside baseball on me. Hakeem Jeffries is an opposition leader. Donald Trump and his team, his administration, his family, every fucking day are at war against our democracy and the rule of law. I don't care who wants to sit down with me. I'm not doing it right now. I'm an opposition leader. I only want to fucking defeat them. That's it. Affordability, I don't give a damn about talking to you about that right now. You're burning my house down. Like, that's got to be his mindset.
I agree with you. I was wondering, so you mentioned obviously oversight is one of the thing we need to be focusing on, if and when we win the House and the Senate. But there's a lot of debate on whether or not we go the impeachment route or not. I'm personally against it because I just don't think it's going to actually do anything of substance. I think that oversight, where we actually hold them accountable and haul them in not behind closed doors, but in front of the public and televise it. I think that's a lot more effective than doing an impeachment trial. But I was wondering what you think. Obviously, we tried that during the first term. It did not work, even when their lives were at risk 2 or 3 weeks before the impeachment trial. We didn't impeach and convict him and remove him after January 6th. I don't think we're going to be able to impeach him and remove him after whatever illegal thing he does.
Donald Trump shouldn't be impeached. He should be in jail, or he should be in a room with padded walls. My advice to Democrats would be this. On day one of the new Congress, they should have just a one-page bill. And I'm stealing this from Edwin Eisendrath, Chicago, a great longtime Democrat, Chicago voice. One-page bill listing the top 10 reasons why Trump should be impeached, and just vote up and down on that one page and then put it away and get down to conducting oversight and holding these people accountable. That's all they should do.
Like not a bill, but like a resolution, like what was like non-binding.
Just a resolution of Congress, one pager. Here are the top 10 reasons. That's it. Move.
Because the issue is not that Trump's not committed impeachable offenses. He does one every day. He probably does several every day, and there's a bunch we don't even know about. But I wanted to ask you, because I interviewed someone a few weeks ago who kind of focused on like kind of talking about the good things the Democratic Party is also doing. Like, and she was telling me about how there are people like Mark Elias and Eric Holder, and these people that are doing a lot of work to protect our elections and protect the vote. And Hakeem Jeffries was the person, and Chuck Schumer were the ones that started these meetings and been holding these roundtables. So that's good. I was wondering, what do you think Democrats should be doing? Because I think that obviously we saw the Supreme Court rule this week in a major ruling that I was not even expecting, and I don't expect much from the Supreme Court anymore, that restricts mail-in ballots. Which that's how he votes, but regardless, that's going to be going forward in the next couple of months. We just saw the governor of Maine, Republican nominee, Bobby Charles, just requested Trump to send ICE to the polls in Maine. I'm sure we'll see more Republican governors and candidates asking for that, and I'm sure Trump will happily comply in some of these states, especially in a state like Maine that's now going to be affected by the recent the upstarted war with Canada. That would certainly hurt Susan Collins and folks like that are running in that Maine. But if you make people fearful of going to vote because they could get shot in the streets, like we've seen with ICE and their reckless actions, how do Democrats fight back against that? Not besides the legal, like going for the legal fights when it's happening, because you can't do that until he actually acts on it. On a lot of those things, what should Democrats be doing right now to prepare people for that, frankly, inevitability in these swing states?
The legal needs to be the legal, and that needs to be pursued everywhere. Democrats need to understand that we're at war right now in this country. That's unpleasant, but we are. Donald Trump, and the biggest front of the war right now is Donald Trump is engaged again in a full-on assault on our elections. And so if I'm the Democrats, every fucking day, I'm in wartime footing. I'm holding a press conference it's like Eli, Donald Trump, it's like he's planning a bank heist for November 4th or 5th, whatever election day is. He's actively planning the bank heist now. Democrats need to be fighting him now and talking about now every day what he's doing, how he's planning to steal the elections, to fuck with the elections, to try to cancel the elections. There just needs to be a much bigger spotlight and sense of urgency. And Democrats could do that via messaging every day. Talk about what Trump is doing to attack our elections.
I think that, yeah, I think certainly we're seeing this issue really play out, because I think that, like, obviously, while yes, the DSA has some crazy positions, but I also think that sometimes we've seen Democrats take these positions that are, like, also, I would say, toxic, but on the other side of the spectrum, which is, like, too far to the center on, like, issues like data centers, or the unwillingness to just fight in general on a lot of these issues, like you just mentioned. And I think that we just you would think the thing is, voters want someone who's willing to, like, stand up and, like, because we're at a huge threat right now. Like you said, we're at war. He's declared war on us many times. And
Eli, nothing is more important right now than protecting our elections
yeah,
from our president who's trying to destroy our elections.
yes, I think
Nothing right now is more important than this issue.
the thing is, I think that while that I think people, I don't know why Democrats didn't have a stronger response or any response whatsoever when he did that press conference, like, about a month or so ago, 2 months ago now, with when he talked about the Georgia
Mhm.
2020 race. He now he knew he was not gonna overturn John Ossoff won some re-election. That was, but what he's trying to do is he's trying to set the stage, just like he did back in 2020, for 2026 challenges. And I saw Democrats, just besides John Ossoff and a few others, mostly just laugh it off, like, "Oh, Trump's just being Trump," or like, "This is not a serious thing. Trump needs to," like, and just, like, pointless attacks that were, like, silly, but, like, they weren't like, "Oh, this is serious." Like, he's saying he's willing to do this. And remember, the last time he said this, he started January 6th. So we need to be careful what we do, because there's a very good chance that we don't know what
It's
he's gonna do.
again, you either believe Trump
Yes.
is trying to destroy our elections or you don't. And if you believe he is, then you are at war with him. Then you say publicly what I say publicly. Donald Trump is our enemy. If Eli, if any foreign actor or foreign country was doing right now, was plotting a bank heist in November, right now, and we knew about it, we'd call them our enemy, we'd retaliate, we'd go to war against that foreign actor. That's what Trump is doing right now. And either Democrats don't believe it, or they don't understand it. Either
Like,
one is bad.
I think that, like, I think that Hakeem Jeffries is a bad person? No. Do I think that he's not a bad congressman? No. I just think he's not a leader for this moment at all. I don't think that can change. Maybe he'll all of a sudden develop leadership skills between now and January. We'll see. I presume that he'll be speaker, but with some heavy concessions that he'll have to make to the various people, because I've interviewed like several dozen candidates over the last 10 and a half months. And I've not heard a single person say, "I'm enthusiastic about," like, there's no way, no doubt in my mind that I'll support Hakeem Jeffries. Now, they've all said, I would consider doing it if he made certain concessions regarding this policy, regarding how we handled these issues, how we handled fighting Trump in the final 2 years. I've heard some people say, he hasn't been given a chance to be a majority leader yet, so we don't, or a speaker. He's only been the minority, and that's a harder job than being a speaker. Um, because you can't get things done. You don't have leverage in the same way.
It's
But
harder to be the speaker, I guarantee you.
I'm sure it is. But I'm saying what
Yeah,
I've heard. Um,
yeah.
no one's enthusiastic about supporting him. So I think he's gonna have a rough time.
He's going to have a rough time, Eli. We need a wartime speaker. Look, when we went to Congress, that Tea Party wave, and we were ready to go to war and raise hell, we made life miserable for John Boehner, our speaker. If Hakeem Jeffries doesn't get his act together, life is going to be miserable for him trying to deal with all of these new populists who are coming to DC.
Well, because I think that like, and the thing is that's going to be a very interesting thing to see, because I think that while we don't want to be seen as the chaotic party that's just like fighting amongst ourselves, which we already kind of are, but like we don't want to be seen that as like a just chaotic. We're just screaming at the speaker. But I also will say, Jeffries can't continue doing what he's been doing or not doing the last 2 years, and frankly even before that. Like the thing is, Nancy Pelosi, when she was speaker under Trump, she was fierce, and I do not see that I do not see that same fierceness within Hakeem Jeffries yet.
A younger Nancy Pelosi would be a great speaker for this moment.
Yeah.
Look, the best thing Jeffries has going for him is Chuck Schumer, because Chuck Schumer is just so much even worse, and the perception of Schumer is so much worse.
As much, yeah.
So, but
well, I think that one of the hardest parts, I think, is that there's so much of the Democrat Party that doesn't want to even think about challenging Jeffries, because they don't want to be seen as undercutting history of like making.
That'll change. Eli, trust me, that will change once these guys get elected. And if they take back the House, every member is their own member, man. And so you're going to see other names come out. Yes, you will. That'll change.
Do you have anyone in mind that, in terms of the Democrat caucus, at least of the current people that are currently in Congress, that you would think it would be a better choice than Hakeem Jeffries, like a particular person? Because that's the issue. That's the issue that's the issue I have when I think about this. Is like, yes, not Hakeem Jeffries, but who instead? I've heard Jamie Raskin's name floated around by some. I've heard. I don't know if he'd be. That's a huge thing. I think he's probably going to the Senate in 2 years for the Van Hollen seat, because I think he's going to.
I'd have to think about that. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. But yeah, there will be an alternative. If the Democrats take back the House, there will be an alternative.
My question is going to be, where's the ideology of that alternative going to be? Is it going to be more in the Rashida Tlaib DSA alternative, or is it going to be more of like a mainstream, like just wanting to fight?
Yeah, and I don't know about the ideology. I just know it will be a person who's a more wartime speaker, who is willing to do things as speaker that Jeffries isn't willing to do.
Yeah, I think there's also an element. I think someone joked about how like this is the only guy from Brooklyn who doesn't know how to fight. I think that
he's an institutionalist. Even like and Pelosi, everybody's known that he's an institutionalist.
And I do wonder why Pelosi pretty much paved the way for Hakeem Jeffries, when there are very different types of speakers or different types of leaders in the party. Like, she's a lot like, obviously she's known for the infamous State of the Union speech rep, but like she also did a lot more like actual substantive fighting issues on many other things. But like that was obviously like a major example. I could never see Hakeem Jeffries ripping up the speech behind Trump. I could never see that. No, he doesn't have. He's too. He has this weird thing where it's like he's still like, I don't know if it's like not willing, but also not sure if he's even capable of such action. Like, I don't think that's his.
There's something you're nailing it, but there's something wrong, because meeting with Jared Kushner should not have even been a close call. It shouldn't have been.
Yeah, it was, when I read the article, I was like,
doesn't matter.
I'm confused. Like, why would you why do it? Yeah, it didn't make sense.
I didn't believe it. Eli didn't believe it. I thought it was a lie. I thought it was bullshit. Hey, this has been a gas, man.
Yeah, it has been. I'm glad you were able to join, and it's just amazing that.
Well, thank you, Eli, for asking me. This has been a great conversation. Again, everybody listening, who's one of my people, get in there and follow and subscribe to Eli's Substack. Good
Well,
stuff,
thank you.
man.
Thank you so much, and keep up the good fight, and
We'll talk
continue.
again.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Maybe after the midterms, we can have another conversation about what the heck, because we don't. I'm hopeful that I think we really could win the House and the Senate back because there's a lot of amazing candidates running for the Senate races that I think could very realistically win Texas, Iowa. Now the problem is that if my main pet peeve is if we lose the Senate because we lost Michigan, that's gonna piss me off so much. Because like
Hold your
they-
fire, hold your fire, hold your fire. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I agree.
that's just good.
Thanks,
That's my
brother.
main.
This has been great. Thank you, and thank you to everybody who joined us. Eli, let's do this again, man.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Eli.
See ya. Well, thank you. That was an amazing conversation with one of my someone I followed for a long time and always been huge fan of. Please subscribe, as he said. I have free subscriptions, which of course free. Then I also have my paid subscriptions, which are $12 a month and $100 a year. The yearly plan will actually save you 30% off. If you just get the $12 a month. And so I encourage you to get a paid subscription that will get you certain interviews. And I encourage you to share this with your friends and your family and on social media. And again, thank you. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. We need every one of you. We're gonna have more interviews like this as I get bigger and bigger. And again, thank you.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, follow, and share The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple, Spotify. Plus, don't forget to subscribe to The Social Contract on Substack. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.